long ago described this as my alternative spiritual practice. You know, when I began my protest in the late 1990s, you know, by that time, I was in touch with various Unitarian Universalists who were advocates for victims of clergy misconduct, one of them being Reverend Deborah Pope Lance. And in a conversation with Reverend Pope Lance years and years and years ago, I'd say probably early 2000s, if not late 90s. Good morning. Reverend Deborah Pope Lance called this my alternative spiritual practice. Very insightful description. And that's pretty well exactly what it is. I'm essentially just going to church. You know, the Montreal Unitarians kicked me out of the church in 1999 permanently. Prior to that, they had kicked me out for 6 months in 1997, I guess. Yeah, 1997. They kicked me out for 6 months for doing nothing more than submitting one more letter of grievance to the board of the church than it had wanted to throw in the waste paper basket. And so, yeah, my protest began in May of 1998, and it basically hasn't stopped since, with the exception of the one-year restraining order that Reverend Diane Rowlett was able to obtain on the basis of perjurious lies and paranoid fantasies about a decade later. But that was just like a one-year holiday. In the meantime, you know, all I'm really doing is going to church on Sunday. I'm just going on the outside instead of the inside. So I really don't have any more patience than if I was going to church normally. So, you know, whether I'm on the inside or the outside, you know, not a big difference. This is what I call my Sunday constitutional, which obviously has a double meaning. Constitutional in the sense of morning walk, you know, exercise, and constitutional in the sense of exercising my constitutionally guaranteed civil right to engage in peaceful public protests. So yeah, it's really no big deal to spend an hour and a half or so in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal most Sundays. It's just a quite pleasant activity, actually. Get to speak to interesting people, get to have moronic Unitarian Universalists do and say moronic things, such as Relly and Guillory did earlier. Have nice chats with the police, get knocked to the ground by leading members of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, who then try to pretend that I assaulted them, and so on. You know, it's actually quite a interesting hour and a half or so when I protest. And today is actually one of the less eventful ones. Pretty quiet, actually. Not a whole lot of people showing up. When I think about it, you know, there haven't been a whole ton of people that have passed me this morning. Now, of course, some members of the church do enter by the rear entrance of the church. But, you know, in terms of people coming in the front door, you know, I'm not like keeping count. You know, I don't have a clicker or whatever. I'm not even mentally keeping count in my head. But, you know, off the top of my head, I'd be surprised if more than 30 people have gone in. In fact, it's probably closer to 20 or so. Not very many when you think about it. Anyhow, my patience is just fine. And this is the problem with the Unitarians, is they just can't deal with my patience. You know, they can't wrap their head around the fact that you know, it's really no big deal for me to come here on a Sunday morning and spend an hour and a half or so walking back and forth with picket signs. Really actually spend less time protesting than if I was inside the church attending the service and some of the post-service activities. So there's actually less time invested in this than if I was an active member of the church. So I think we're going to probably wrap this up soonish. I'm not quite sure what time it is, but I'm guessing it's past 10:30 now. And I do have a couple other things I got to take care of. So I may just go and take care of those couple other things. Yeah, I think we've done enough this morning, it's all right. On one of the few occasions where I did not see someone approaching, perhaps because they were approaching quickly and was slightly in their way. One of the pretexts that the Unitarian Universalists like to use to try and get rid of me is to claim that I'm blocking entrance to the church when I'm doing no such thing. As my videos show, there's the occasional situation where, I don't see someone approaching from behind me and therefore might be partially blocking their way on the sidewalk, but all they have to do is alert me to their presence and I will step out of the way. There's no active attempt on my part to prevent anyone from entering the church, and the occasions where I accidentally do so are few and far between and would only require being alerted to the presence of the person to move out of their way. But nonetheless, the Unitarians constantly call in complaints to the police about my alleged blocking entrance to the church as a means of shutting down this protest. Alrighty, so one more person going in. Yes, I think after this guy, unless I see someone else approaching, we shall call it a day. As I said, I do actually have another important thing to do this morning, so I might as well get on with it. So I'd say we're done for now. Had quite a good solstice protest and got the wonderful bonus of having Aurelian Geary tell a passerby what a nut I am. It's always nice to have that kind of affirmation of the validity of my protest. My protest began as a result of Reverend Ray Drennan and other leading members of the church labeling me psychotic and so on. And even after receiving letters from a psychiatrist who made it clear that he couldn't find any traces of psychosis in me, they continue to pathologize me. So this protest, as I said, began in part as a protest against being falsely labeled as insane by Unitarians, and 16 years later, they're still doing it. So I guess those kind of sorry bunch of hypocrites I'm dealing with here. On that note, we shall head off and take care of some other things we got to take care of today. We'll keep the camera going just on the off chance something happens, but we're pretty well done for today, barring some unexpected event. Looks like people are still coming up in taxis and so on. Yeah, but I am ending this a bit on the early side. You know, I normally would go to 11 or later, but I'm packing it in now because, as I said, I do have another thing to do, and better get on towards doing it.